So hey, I'm Ashley. I'm 32 and a native Haligonian, but I was gone for quite a while, like more than 10 years, and just came back last year. So I've been part of the Halifax social network community since last summer, when I just stumbled upon an event online and thought that sounds like exactly the kind of community I'm looking for. So I was trying to reflect on what I would speak about. I've been a little bit hesitant to get up here despite being at a lot of the events, because although I do a lot of public speaking in my job, I don't usually get asked to talk about myself. So it's kind of a strange experience to try to figure out what in your story is a helpful thing to reflect on. So when I was thinking about my personal journey, something that came up for me was something that maybe we don't often talk about when we talk about people's stories who have conventional success, and that's privilege, and specifically the role that the cycle of privilege can play in building success for individuals. So I think part of the amazing thing about this community is that a lot of people talk about how they've overcome adversity, and I feel like people have had incredible successes despite really challenging experiences. So fortunately for me, I really think my story is one of privilege and a cycle of privilege, so I kind of wanted to share that message today. So I guess my privilege began at birth, when I was born a white, cisgendered, heterosexual person in Canada to a two-family household, middle-class parents who were very loving. So automatically at birth, I was born with a lot of privilege. And those parents who are very loving, fortunately, despite maybe coming from less socioeconomic privilege than I've been subjected to, really understood the importance of education. So very early in my life, they made a decision that they were going to commit a lot of sacrifice, financial sacrifice, to make sure that my sister and I had a really good education. So I actually spent all of my primary and secondary years at a school down the street called Sacred Heart, that some of you may know of, which is a private school. And that's an interesting experience. We could definitely I could talk to you on end about what I think about whether or not people should send their children to private school. But for me, it afforded me the privilege of a really rigorous academic experience, but also that's a school environment that emphasizes social accountability and really promotes people getting involved in their community. And because of those experiences and that privilege, that let me have conventional success that led me to be successful in getting a full scholarship to do my undergrad at the University of Western Ontario. And because I didn't have the financial burdens that many people do when they're going through university, I had the ability to volunteer and do research and do extracurriculars, and that helped me get into medical school. So I went to medical school at the University of Ottawa. And again, privilege begets privilege. So when you're in an environment where there is a tremendous amount of social privilege, that opens up a lot of doors. So I ended up doing my residency training in internal medicine at Memorial in Newfoundland, and I did a fellowship in health system leadership, and I actually had the opportunity to do a master's in health economics at the London School of Economics. So when I finished my fellowship, now with a couple extra letters behind my name, that gave me the privilege to be able to come home to Nova Scotia and to have a pretty amazing job, actually. So despite what you hear in the news, it's actually a really wonderful place to be a doctor, and I could not imagine being any happier in my current job. So I'm a general internist, which some of you have heard me say this spiel before, but basically I'm a little bit useless. I don't do surgery. I'm not somebody you'd want to see if you were needing an acute intervention, but I take care of people who have organ diseases, like if you have lung disease or heart disease or kidney disease and you need to come into the hospital, or if your family doctor is not sure how to help you, they would usually send you to see me. So reflecting on this cycle of privilege, I think that one of the amazing privileges of being a doctor is that you actually have the unique experience where, unlike most people who maybe have experienced socioeconomic privilege like I have, they're generally surrounded by people who are pretty similar in terms of their life experiences and their degree of socioeconomic privilege. And in my day job, I actually get to meet and really learn the most intimate details about people's lives that are very diverse. And I think that just emphasizes for me how much gratitude we should have for the things in our lives that give us privilege. And I think the other piece is that it gives you a lot of optimism to actually be with people through their most difficult times in their life. And something that is a big part of my job now is that I'm actually with people a lot at the end of their life and at the times that they're dying, actually sometimes with them at the time of their death. And that experience, although it sounds a little bit strange maybe, I think that for me has been the biggest privilege of this journey that I've taken, that I have the opportunity to really recognize how important it is to enjoy the time that you have, to really lean into your community, to make a difference in terms of using the strengths and privilege that you have to serve others. Because ultimately, you know, the only thing that really unites us is that one day we will all no longer be here. And having the experience of seeing that firsthand just really emphasizes to me how important it is to take advantage of the opportunities that we have. So I hope that you'll all reflect a little bit on your privilege, because I think that it's important to speak privilege to also open up opportunities, because, you know, I don't want to diminish my success or give you the impression that I'm not proud of what I've accomplished, but there's a lot of people who are just as intelligent and hardworking and well-meaning as I am who haven't had the same degree of conventional success just because they maybe didn't have access to that privilege. So I think a challenge for this group, and something I've been trying to reflect a lot on, is how do we create privilege for people who don't have it? So that's exactly what we just heard about, is how do you create opportunities for furthering people's individual success by creating community and opening up doors that maybe don't exist. So I think Halifax Social Network's doing that, and I hope that we can continue to use our collective privilege to help people who maybe don't have as much. So thanks so much for your time.